Welcome, thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Adam Diaz, and you're listening to episode number 21 of Live the Good Life from the podcast studios of Aaron's Wine Chronicles corporate headquarters in Richland, Washington. Today, we'll show you how to make a delicious marinade from an American Wagyu cut of meat known as Bavette. The Bavette steak is a long, flat, tender cut of meat that comes from the bottom sirloin of the cow. It is full of flavor and known as the butcher's cut in some circles. It's generally less expensive than ribeyes and tenderloins, and if prepared correctly, it will quickly become a favorite cut for family and friends. We purchased our Snake River Farms American Wagyu Gold-Grade Bavette steaks from Juanito's Prime Meats here in Kennewick, Washington. This meat is highly marbled, it's really tender, and it literally melts in your mouth. In creating this episode, this was our first time ever grilling and tasting this cut of meat. So what are we waiting for? Let's get this started. Okay, we're here in my kitchen. Welcome. The first step in this process is preparing the meat. And so what I want to do is take you through the actual components to this marinade that is really, really good. And it does differ from some of the previous marinades that we've talked about in the past. But there's basically three categories of ingredients that I put in this marinade. And you'll see that I have them all kind of lined up here on my counter. The first, the base components that I put in initially are the sweet components that are thick and viscous. And that includes some clover honey, some molasses, grandma's molasses. I like to use Kikkoman's teriyaki marinade sauce. I'll use some boar's head honey mustard, Yoshida's marinade and cooking sauce. I'll usually put a small can of pineapple juice. And for, the base with regard to barbecue sauces, I like to use Kinder's mild barbecue sauce. These are exactly the same, these two bottles, just different packaging. And then, of course, Sweet Baby Ray's, I'll use some of that. And I'll top it off with some maple syrup and some brown sugar. So that's the first grouping of ingredients that I will put in this bowl. And then after that, I will add a few different other ingredients, one being apple cider vinegar, Worcestershire sauce, and sesame oil. Now, the apple cider vinegar and the pineapple are really good in acting as a tenderizer for the meat, with the acid, the citric acid, and the vinegar together in this marinade. It'll really help break down the fibers of the meat and make it more tender. And then, of course, after I get those mixed in, I will actually then start doing some spices, adding some spices to the marinade. The first thing I'll do is add some minced garlic. Then we'll put in some onion powder and garlic powder over the top. We'll add some snipped chives. Typically I use the bottled dried chives. You can use fresh chives if you like. I do like toasted sesame seeds and red pepper, crushed red pepper. I'll put in Spiceology Greek Freak blend of spices, put in a few dashes of Montreal steak seasoning, and then of course top it off with some smoky honey habanero, which is also a Spiceology concoction. So there you go. There you have it. Those are all the components that I will add into this marinade, and it will fill this bowl up probably to right about here, this level. Then when of course I add the steaks and stuff, it'll pretty much top everything off, and you'll have it about an inch or so from the edge of the bowl. We'll, put a cover on it, and we'll throw it in the refrigerator for 48 hours before we grill. So that's that, and I'll be back in just a moment and take you through the mixing process. Okay, we're back, and now we're going to go ahead and mix up this marinade. So I'm going to go ahead and start grabbing the components for this stuff, and we're going to start doing the mix. I'll show you how I do it. It's not always measured exactly. So basically I take one bottle of Sweet Baby Ray's and I just put in this entire bottle. And it can be always a little bit of a challenge to get all of this stuff out, so I'll do a bunch of this banging on the side of the bowl to get most of that residual barbecue sauce out. Okay. Next, we've got the Kinder's mild barbecue sauce. I happen to have a partial bottle already open, so we're going to use that. And then I'll finish up with this next bottle. So this gives the marinade a lot of body and, of course, kind of a sweet hickory barbecue type flavor. And next will be the Yoshida's marinade. I always make sure I shake it because as it settles in the fridge, you know, you tend to get that caked sweet sugar bottom, kind of bottoms out and sticks to the bottom of the bottle. But now I just go ahead and mix in essentially about 1/3 to 1/2 of a bottle of Yoshida's. Next is the Kikkoman's Teriyaki marinade sauce. I really like this too. And I'll put in about 1/2 of the amount I did with the Yoshida's. Then I like to put in some honey. Really like honey. And so, oh, this guy is unopened. Gonna have to open this guy up here. Oh, there we go. So, I'll go ahead and put a very generous serving of honey in this guy. Next comes the maple syrup. And I usually put about 1/2 a bottle. So this bottle I opened up for a marinade that I did last week. And now I'm going to put the remaining amount of this bottle in. This is, I like to get kind of higher end maple syrups that you can get at the store, not your, you know, Aunt Jemima or whatever maple syrup. I like to get the 100% pure maple syrup from someplace up in Vermont or Canada or wherever in the hell they make this stuff. So that gives it some more sweetness there. Then I like to do some molasses. And again, I put in probably about a couple of tablespoons, maybe something like that. Or maybe 1.5 tablespoons when it's all said and done. I also like that honey mustard. And I just happen to have a lot of this boar's head honey mustard. So I put some of that in there. Then we've got pineapple juice, just Dole's pineapple juice. You can use orange juice if you like, or pineapple orange. I just like the pineapple. Gives it a little bit of a tropical, hint of tropical sweetness, along with that teriyaki and Yoshida's. And then the end of the first batch of components is the brown sugar. And I like to be generous with brown sugar because it's one of my favorite things. Next to my wife. And she could be considered brown sugar too. So, okay, here we go now. So I got this together and I just kind of gently swirl this guy in, and I like to use a spoon or some sort of mixing tool that is perforated like this one has some, so you can kind of, filter it through as you're stirring. And I don't spend a whole lot of time doing this right up front, but what I will do now is go on to the next stage of stuff that I want to put in, and that will be the apple cider vinegar. So I don't put a ton of this in because obviously vinegar can be a little overwhelming, but I'll put in about maybe 1 tablespoon or so of apple cider vinegar. And then I'll put in probably the rest of this Worcestershire. It looks like it's about 1/4 of a bottle. It's a small bottle, it's not a big one. So I'll probably put in most of this, if not all of it. Okay, probably won't use it all. So maybe about 1/8 of a small bottle or so, that's about the amount there. And then sesame oil. I know sesame oil can be very strong and powerful, but I like to have a little bit of sesame oil in the background, so I'll put in about 1 teaspoon of that. Maybe 1.5 teaspoons when it's all said and done. Okay, again, the next thing I'll do is, mix this up a little bit. And now, you can kind of feel with the molasses and the barbecue sauces and all of that, that it's It's thick, it's viscous, but it's not so thick and viscous that it's, you know, like tar. And obviously that kind of stuff will help break down the fibers in the meat. Next and last component is the spices. And for the spices, I like to start with the minced garlic. And I like to put in a generous amount of minced garlic. I just take a fork and just put in about that much. So that's a dinner fork, and I put in about that much in a bowl this size. Then I'll start with the different spices here. We've got some onion powder, and I'll just kind of sprinkle a light coating on the entire surface, but not, you know, not overwhelming. And I will do the same with the garlic powder. Got to make sure that this is opened here. Okay. And again, garlic powder, and I'll just put a light covering on the top surface of the marinade there. The next three things that I'll put in are some really essential elements here. This is the snip chives, and I'll put in at least half a bottle into this, so that'll be about the entire contents of this bottle. Get that. And then red pepper, crushed red pepper flakes, and I love those because it's a sweet marinade, but it has a little bit of a hit to it with some heat. Not a lot, but got enough to keep you awake. Put a little hair on your chest. Okay, and then we got toasted sesame seeds, and I typically like to put in about half a bottle of toasted sesame seeds. So this is not quite half a bottle, but I think I'm okay with that. I do have more, I just don't want to take the time to open it up right now. The last three elements of the marinade will be a sprinkling of Montreal steak seasoning. I mean, you really can't go wrong with Montreal. So I like to just sprinkle a little bit of Montreal in there, okay? Then the honey habanero, smoky honey habanero. Love this stuff. I will be a little bit more generous with this spice than any of the others because I really just love the way it's hot and sweet at the same time. And finally, we got the Greek Freak, and this really gives it a little bit of a Mediterranean twist. That's perfect. Okay, so now I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to stir this up and mix it really well. And in just a moment, we'll be back, and I'll show you the meat that we're going to be marinating. We'll talk about the cuts of meat that we got, and then we'll go on from there. See you in a bit. Okay, well, we're back, and the meat has now been taken out of their packages, and we're going to put the meat into the marinade. Before we do that, before I show you the different cuts of meat, I do want to make mention that looks like my mama got us all these nice clothing wear for our cooking podcasts. So we're really appreciative of that. Mom, thank you for the Christmas gift. And this is the first time we get to wear this apron. So anyhow, now I'm going to show you the cuts of meat. And basically, we have three excellent cuts of meat. As you can see here, everybody knows what those are. Those are USDA Oscar Mayer wieners. That's what they are. Americana right there, Oscar Mayer wieners. I figured since I made such a large bowl of marinade, and I only have really 4 different pieces of high-end meat to put in there, I might as well continue to utilize what's left in there to baste these guys. And when I've done it before, hot dogs or hamburgers with using that marinade as a basting sauce while you're cooking is just outstanding. So anyway, I can't go wrong, and those hot dogs will go really quickly. Anyhow, we've got basically 2 different types of meat, and you're all familiar with the USDA Prime bone out ribeye. So there's no bone. It's a boneless ribeye steak. And these are USDA Prime. They're tender, they're juicy. We've barbecued them before on our marinades. But this is the cut of meat that I have yet to eat. And I went to the local meat emporium down here, Juanito's Prime Meats. That was actually, just the previous episode, I interviewed the butcher there. And he told me that I need to try Bavette steaks. So he happened to have a number of Bavette steaks from Snake River Farms. Now, these are gold grade. So the highest American Wagyu grade meat that you can get at Snake River Farms. It's their gold grade. Now, they also have, I think you can get Japanese Wagyu from them as well, but this is the American stuff. And this is a cut called Bavette. Now, the Bavette steak is a long, flat, tender cut of meat that comes from the bottom sirloin, kind of near the flank steak, but it's also known as flap steak. And you can see the marbling there. It's really well marbled, so it's going to be really tender and juicy with a lot of flavor. It's a lean cut with a long, thin shape. It's supposed to be really rich and beefy in flavor. And so I'm really looking forward to this. The butcher at Juanito's Prime Meats said that this, because of the cost, a lot of people call it the butcher's cut because it's half or more than half the price per pound of something like a ribeye steak, or New York. And yet it's just as tender, if not more tender and juicy and flavorful. It's just a different cut of meat. And it doesn't have the celebrity that, say, a ribeye or a filet mignon has when it comes to the cuts of meat. But we're going to try it. We're going to marinate this guy in here for 48 hours, and we're going to see exactly how delicious this steak is. It'll be a treat for both us and for you, the viewer, so that you know maybe you have a new go-to meat cut that you can purchase. So, next steps, we're going to put that in the marinade. Be right back. Okay, we're back, and now we're going to go ahead and put the meat into the marinade. I like to put the ribeyes in. They're the heaviest of the meat as far as density and weight goes. So I'll put these ribeyes in first. And I like to submerge them. So, a lot of people marinate their meat and they're really chintzy with the amount of marinade they use. In large part because, when you put a marinade together like this, it can get pretty expensive if you're using large quantities of stuff. But that's okay. I mean, if you want to live the good life and you want the best tasting meat, you've got to prepare the meat well in advance so that you give yourself the best chance of putting together an awesome meal. So I make sure that my meats are totally submerged in this bowl. And I will actually come back about every 12 to 16 hours and rotate the meat in the bowl to ensure that all sides of the meat are getting, in contact with the marinade. Okay, and now we've got the Bavette, so we'll put that guy in there, and this guy will go on the other side. And again, I'll just submerge them in this juice of the gods. Man, I tell you, I love this. Before I put the meat in, I always sample it, and it is tangy and sweet and delicious, and it's got the flavor of the spices in it. You can taste the hints of the oil that I put in, sesame oil, and then of course there's the toasted sesame seeds. You got the chives, and you've got that honey habanero spice. Yeah, that's the way to do it right there. So now I'm just continuing to just push this guy down so that everything gets submerged. Then I'll put the weenies in. And these I don't really care so much about. They will get their fair share. The main thing is with the weenies is that when they're on the grill, I baste them heavily with this marinade while they're on the grill and getting really, really hot and blackened. I like to kind of blacken my hot dogs. So anyway, this is it. This is how it's going to look for the next 48 hours. And we'll be back in the next segment. It'll be a couple of days from now from the filming of this segment. And everything will have been sitting in this pot of marinade for 48 hours. And at which point, we'll put them on the grill. and then we'll sample them and cut them open, and hopefully we'll have a really, really delicious meal. All right, we'll see you in a bit. Hello. Well, I'm joined by co-host and brother Adam Diaz right now, and we are about to put the meat on. You want to check this meat out here. This has been marinating for 48 hours. We got 2 big USDA prime ribeyes that are in there. Adam and I will be enjoying those in a little bit. And then we have the Bavette steaks that we talked about earlier. And these are those well-marbled Bavette cuts that are Wagyu, American Wagyu Gold from Snake River Farms. And they also have been marinating this whole time. So I'm going to put the ribeyes on first, then I'll put the Bavette on. So the grill is nice and hot. We're going to go ahead and do this right now. Ribeye number 1, sizzle. And ribeye number 2, sizzle. Okay, I'm not going to put the Bavette on right away. We're just going to let these guys kind of sear. And then we're going to go ahead and do this process of maybe turning them once, maybe twice, doing some basting. And if I have to pull some up for a little bit, I will. But we like our steak a true medium rare. So that's kind of what I'm going to cook these to. Now these Bavette steaks are cut so that some parts of the strip are thicker than the other parts. And I kind of like that because my daughter and my wife, who are going to partake of some of this, they like their meat a little bit more done than Adam and I. So on the thicker parts of the steak, those will be the ones that are less done. And on the thinner parts of the steak, they'll be more of a medium to medium well, which is the way they like it. So we'll be back in just a second. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and put the Bavette on. These have been on for just a couple of minutes. And the Bavette, oh man, look at this. That, the man size. This guy chew, holy moly. Now, you know what? I'm going to do a little bit of basting now that I got these guys on here. I'll just continue to baste them with this fantabulous marinade. Oh man, I took samples of it before I put the meat in, and it was just delicious. Now again, this will muck up your barbecue pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work.
When you use this kind of stuff a lot, like Adam and I do, we have to routinely clean our grills because it gets mucked up. But you know what? It's worth it. It is worth the flavor. So now I'm going to let them sit on there for a little bit more, and I think my brother's going to go in and chat a little bit about the wine that we're drinking.
Oh, heck yeah. All right. So, yeah, we're digging into Chasing Rain, a Red Mountain Cab Sauv. That's where the grapes come out of, is Red Mountain. This is a 2019, and it's got kind of like a bright fruit that you're going to taste off it. It lingers with a slight tartness to it. It's good. I enjoy it. The winery is located out of Walla Walla, and I know, of course, my brother frequents that area a lot, and he's been a great tour guide for me over the years. But yeah, so a good wine to start the day. And as you see, there's a lot of different options you have here at Aaron's Bar and Grill. And we'll move right back out to center stage.
Now, while you were gone, I just flipped the ribeyes. You can get a good look at those ribeyes there. See how that marinade caramelizes on the side that was just seared. And that is a freaking great process there where you get the caramelization of that. And yep, so I'm going to baste these guys again. I'm very generous with the basting. I like to do that. All right, I'm going to close these guys up.
You love the give of your sauce.
Okay.
And one thing on the agenda for today, again, I consider this work related. We're looking at Green Spot Irish whiskey. Fantastic whiskey from what I'm hearing. Aaron's buddy Kevin. Aaron, was it Kevin who brought it?
Yeah, it was Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin, great people, man. He was in one of our episodes. Was he in an episode yet or no?
I don't think so.
We'll have to get him in an episode. Anyway, Green Spot single pot still Irish whiskey, triple distilled Irish whiskey. There's different levels of this, like different colors. I thought I recall him saying that there was like some like blue and some other ones, and they're kind of high end. They taste great from what I'm hearing.
He bought it in Ireland, right?
Yeah, he was in Ireland. He travels, of course, to Ireland and other places through his work, and he was gracious enough to bring this to Aaron at one of the barbecues we had and hosted. And I tell you what, hearing good things about it, he couldn't say enough good things about it. We'll be testing that out a little bit later come cigar time.
Cheers, we're back. Okay, the meat has been brought off the grill, and the ribeyes got off first, and they are resting right now. And then we also have the bavette. So put a little bit of light on these guys in case the lighting isn't so good, but you've got these two ribeyes that have been nicely basted, and you got the bavette here. You can see the steam coming off the meat.
Yeah.
Freaking fabulous.
That's fantastic looking.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take
that crust.
We're gonna take a piece of this bavette and put it over here on the cutting board. We're using a Kalina knife. I really like the knives from Kalina. And we're just gonna slice this up and put it on our plates here and do a taste test, my brother and I. So basically, I'm just gonna do a little bit of this. I mean, this just, oh my gosh, it's just freaking cuts like butter. This just cuts like butter. Look at that, look at that. That's just, Adam, you're gonna be in heaven, man. This is so tender.
Yeah, that looks really good.
Oh, it's so tender. I can just feel it. Now, on this thinner part, right, where I said it might be a little bit more medium, well, it's actually...
I'd like to get some of that in the light.
Good. Yeah, here, let me show you a little bit of the light. Okay, so yeah, you see, that's a little bit more medium well, and this is more medium rare, or medium. I think it's more medium. But no, if you look at that,
yeah,
I mean, that's a nice cut right there.
Yeah, when
and
you get the light on it,
this was the thinner, a little bit thinner piece than the big fat one that's in there.
That's true.
But anyway, so I'm just going to finish cutting this up, and we're going to take some morsels, and we're going to talk about this. I'm going to give you the tail end of this. This is just a very small end, and it's shouldn't be too hot.
All right, right here, people.
Yep. So I'm going to serve this up.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to serve this up.
Oh yeah.
And these are actually pretty big pieces, Adam. I'm going to cut them up a little bit more, so you don't have to be a freaking great white shark. What do you think about that?
Oh man, I love it. You haven't tried yours yet.
Nope. You go ahead. Here's your plate.
My goodness. I love it.
Okay. I'm gonna put some on mine.
Coming around here.
Yep. So let me finish cutting this one right here. That's your plate right there. And I'll take the camera from you, and we'll get an assessment of how you think this steak is. You know what? Your wine is right to your right.
I see that.
Yeah. Check that out. Let's see how this is. Again, this is Gold-Grade Wagyu Bavette.
Oh man,
It's
that's
tender.
money right there. That's
It's tender. Really flavorful.
Man, I really like this. This is God. Wow, man, look at that.
Man. And that marinade.
Right on.
All right. Well, I think we're giving this a thumbs up for sure, because
Thumbs up, man.
the price point for this is like 12 to 13 bucks a pound or something like that, compared to a USDA Prime where you're paying between 25 and 30 bucks a pound, or you go to the Japanese Wagyu and the ribeye cuts especially, and the filet tenderloins. You know, you're talking about anywhere from 50 bucks a pound all the way up to 125, 150 bucks a pound. So this is really delicious.
Yeah, right on.
All right, we'll be back in just a little bit. Well, we finished dinner. My daughter made scallop potatoes. The ribeyes and the Bavette steaks were really outstanding. And now we're done with dinner, and we're back down here in the man cave, and my brother has cracked open this scotch, and he's been tasting it. I'm going to let him describe what he's going through right now.
Well, as I mentioned before, we're at the green spot. Irish whiskey, ready to go. And with this, we're going to have a few cigars we're going to pick out, and then we're going outside.
All right, well, we're back. We're sitting outside. We finished dinner. We put ourselves a couple of glasses of that green spot Irish whiskey and put it on a big boulder rock of ice. And now we've got a couple of cigars here. We've already prepped them to smoke. The first cigar that my brother is going to have is the Aging Room Cuatro. This Aging Room Cuatro is a Nicaraguan wrapper and filler, and it is from A.J. Fernandez. And it's a really high-end cigar, highly ranked, and it's good every step of the way from the start to the finish. And Adam, if he has any notes about this, he can mention his thoughts on this, because he smoked these a lot.
Yeah, I love it. It's like a medium bold, above medium. Really good burn on it, good flavor. Right off the get-go, you can't go wrong with those.
And this is a New World cigar, which is also a Nicaraguan cigar, also fabricated by A.J. Fernandez, and it's also a Nicaraguan wrapper and a Nicaraguan filler in this. And it too is it's not, I wouldn't say it's as high end a cigar as the Aging Room, but it has had some really good marks, like 93 or 94 from Cigar Aficionado magazine. And so anyway, this is going to be a delicious cigar too. We're going to enjoy these. And that's going to cap off our night. So again, thank you for joining us, and peace out. Many thanks to our audience for joining us on Live the Good Life. We really hope you enjoyed our introduction to American Wagyu Bavette steaks. And that's all we have for today's episode. Again, for more of Living the Good Life, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Aaron's Wine Chronicles, or go online at aaronswinechronicles.com. And for a video podcast version of this episode, visit my YouTube channel at the @ Aaron's Wine Chronicles 6666. Well, thank you all for listening, and remember, wherever you go, whenever you can, always live the good life. Until next time.